Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to our series on digital accessibility compliance. I'm very happy to see so many of you with us at lunchtime. Thank you. And today we're focusing on what pages should look like to be accessible. Most of the concepts that we're talking about apply regardless of whether it's a web page, a Google Doc, a Canvas page. It's all things about how to make a page accessible. With us again, we have Surbi, who's our accessibility expert, and behind the scenes, we have Nitesh, who helps run the slides for us. I'm Dr. Sherry Prupis, Director of Teaching and Learning with Technology, supporting the 23 colleges from the system office. It's my pleasure to introduce yet again Surbi, who's been really doing a fabulous job for us. Just a quick reminder, all questions go in the Q&A. If you do not see Q&A on the bottom of your screen, hit the button that says more, and there'll be a list and it'll be there. In addition, for those of you who like to read captions during this session, there's a button that says CC or show captions. The same thing if it's not in the more. If you don't see it on the bottom of your screen, click more. Okay, Surbi, over to you.
Thank you, Sherry. Hello, everyone. Good noon and welcome back for the fourth session in our accessibility series. If you have been following along, we have already talked about making images, videos, and other multimedia accessible. And today we are turning our attention to something we use every single day. That is the content that we create. That might be your course page in Canvas, a weekly announcement, an email to your students, or it could even be assignment instructions. So this session is on page content accessibility. But really, it is all about how we write and organize our materials so that it is easier for everyone to read. Now, by the end of today's session, you will definitely have a few simple practical strategies to make your course pages cleaner, easier to follow, and definitely more accessible for all learners. So let us get started and take a look at what we will be covering up today. Next slide, please. So today we are going to give your content a bit of tune up, nothing overwhelming, just simple adjustments that can really improve the experience for your students. So we'll begin with visual layout, that is how your page is organized and how content flows. Then we will look at fonts and readability, making sure your text is clear and easy to follow. After that, we will cover color and contrast so that your content stays accessible to everyone, including those with visual differences. We'll also go over headings and structure, which are the key for helping everyone, including screen reader users, understand how your content is organized. Then we will dive into writing descriptive links, the kind that makes sense even when taken out of content. We'll also talk about using lists, paragraphs, and tables in a way that keeps everything readable and accessible for everyone. Right after that, we've got a quick demo to show you how a well-structured document looks in action and why it matters so much. Finally, we will wrap up with a few quick tools and resources that you can use to check in your content's accessibility, followed by the Q&A at the end. So all of this will help to ensure that your materials are easier to navigate and understand by everyone. So let's get started, beginning with layout and visual flows. Next slide, please. When we talk about visual layout, we are really talking about how a page looks and feels the moment someone opens it. It is that first impression, how the content is arranged, and how easy it is for someone to find what actually they need. So in simple terms, visual layout is the overall structure, that is the way text, images, and other elements come together to create a smooth, easy experience. A helpful way to think about this by asking a few simple questions to yourself. What kind of content is on the page? How much is there? How is it grouped or organized? And does the design feel consistent from one page to another? All of these choices shape how people experience your materials. So let us look at an example here. Imagine you get two travel brochures where the first one is just a dense block of text that is paragraph after paragraph, no headings, no images, no sections, and barely any space between lines. You really have to work to find the details that you need. And after a few seconds, probably you would stop reading it at all. Now, imagine another scenario where you have a different brochure which starts with a short title, a quick summary sentence, and also there are subheadings like where to go or must see spots, and images are placed near the related text. And also key details like contact information or prices are listed and listed in bullet points and highlighted as well. There is enough space around everything so that your eyes can move naturally from one section to another. Even before you read a word, you already have a sense of what the page is all about. So most of us would definitely prefer that second layout, not because it is fancier, but because it feels much organized, inviting, and easy to navigate. And that is really what good visual layout is all about. Not design for decoration's sake, but design that helps people process information comfortably. A thoughtful layout also gives readers a bit of breathing room, especially those who process information slowly or depend on visual structure to guide them. So it is especially important on smaller screens, like a phone, for example, where people scroll line by line. So clear structure and spacing makes a big difference. So a good visual layout is not just about how your page looks, it is about making your content easy to read, easy to navigate, and comfortable to absorb. Now that we have a clear sense of what visual layout really means, let us take a look at why it matters so much for creating accessible and engaging course documents. Next slide, please. So visual layouts might seem like a small thing, like we discussed, but it definitely makes a huge difference in how people read and understand your content. So even small design choices can completely change how easy it is for someone to follow along. The big idea here is to keep things simple and uncluttered. One of the easiest way to do that is to pay attention to spacing. You might notice that some pages feels crowded while others feel calm and easy to read. That is where the white space comes in. Do not think of empty space, the white spaces as empty space. Think of it like a breathing room. It actually helps guide the reader's eyes and gives their brain a moment to pause and take in what they are actually seeing. Another small thing that makes a big difference is how you align your text. That is, left aligned text might seem very minor, but it actually improves readability a lot. When text is centered or justified, the spacing can actually feel uneven and make it even harder to follow, especially for those who struggle with reading or focusing. Wherein the left aligned text creates a steady rhythm so that eyes naturally flows from line to line. You should also think about columns. So try to stick with one column of text or at most two. Multiple columns might look very interesting, but they can actually confuse readers, especially screen reader users struggle with them a lot. Also on phones and tablets, multiple columns often break. So keeping things simple actually works for everyone. Break up long sections and use clear subheadings, short lists, or visuals to make the page more approachable. Think of it like giving your reader natural stopping points or little mental breaks where they can catch up before moving on. Here is an example. Instead of sending one long announcement that looks like a wall of text, try breaking it into smaller scannable parts like what needs attention this week, upcoming meetings or deadlines, etc. Just those simple changes can make your content feels friendlier and much easier to digest. So if you look at the slide on the left, you would see a dense block of text that is really, or it can be tiring to read, wherein on the right-hand side, you can see headings, space between sections, and a layout that actually invites you to read. So that is the difference that structure and spacing makes. It helps everyone, not just people with visual or learning differences. So visual layout is not just about making things look pretty. Again, it is a part of a good teaching design. So when your content is easy to look at and easy to read, students can focus on learning instead of struggling to process what is on the screen. Next slide, please. Let us now talk about fonts because the font you choose can really change how easy it is for your readers to follow along. Even small choices in style or spacing can make reading feel effortless or make it feel like a chore. To see what I mean, take a look at the examples on the slide. Each one uses a different font style. As you glance at them, try to notice which one feels better to read or comfortable on the eyes. Most of you would naturally pick the simple, clean option, and that is exactly the point here. Fonts like Arial, Calibri, Roboto, and Open Sans are all sans serif fonts. That means they are less or not decorative and are much easier to read, especially on a screen. Decorative or cursive fonts might look creative to you, but they actually make reading slower and can cause eyes strain to people or anyone with visual or cognitive challenges. The same goes for using all capital letters or long stretches of italic. They change the shape of words and actually make it harder to follow the text. So, font size is just as important as choosing the right font style. So, keep it comfortable for reading. A good rule is to have at least minimum of 12 points for documents and minimum of 18 points or more for slides. Also, 24 points or larger is strongly recommended for better readability on screens and projectors. Make sure to always align your text to the left, as we discussed in the previous slide, as centered or justified text might look tidy, but it actually makes the line start in a different place, which can slow the reading and can confuse people who are using assistive technology. So here is a simple test that you can do. Open your syllabus or any page on your course, or page of your course site on your phone. And if you have to zoom in to read it comfortably, that is a sign your font size, style, or the layout needs some adjustment. So using clear, readable font with proper size and alignment makes your content feel clean, approachable, and easier for everyone to read without any additional effort. Next slide, please. Let us now talk about how much text to put up on a page because people do not usually read every single word that is available. Most of the time, they are scanning for the key points. Even students who are very engaged will scroll quickly looking for the most important information that they want to know. What matters and where to focus. That is why it helps to keep paragraphs short, that is around 3 to 5 sentences, and it makes the content easier to take in, especially for someone who uses assistive technology or who reads slowly. Adding space between paragraphs also helps as it gives the page room to breathe and makes it feel lighter and easy to follow. Use clear, simple language, that is, get straight to the point, avoid long, complicated sentences, and words that do not add any meaning at all. A good way to think about is to imagine explaining the instructions to a colleague or student in person. You would speak calmly, directly, and in a way that is easy to understand. That is the same tone actually your writing should have: friendly, approachable, and easy for everyone to read. Next slide, please. Let us now talk about design for visual clarity, especially when it comes to color and contrast. So we have discussed this in our earlier sessions as well, but trust me, this is something very important and something that can be very tiny to be missed as well. So color can make your content more engaging, for sure. It can highlight important points and help organize information. But colors can also be tricky, and it is one of the easiest thing to get wrong. So the most important rule here is to never ever rely on color alone. Instead, add patterns or labels along with it to convey any meaning or information. It is also very important to check the contrast between your text and the background. That is, red text on a orange background or yellow text on a white background might look bright and cheerful on your screen, but it can be almost impossible to read when projected in a classroom or on a tablet in bright sunlight. So the first step is to choose colors that provides strong color contrast, like dark blue text on a light yellow background or white text on a black background or a dark blue background. After you choose colors, also make sure nothing behind the text interferes with readability. For example, things like gradients, shadows, or backgrounds. It can actually blur the edges of your text and make it harder to read. Accessibility guidelines suggest a contrast ratio of at least 4.5:1 for regular text, which are smaller than 18 points, or bold text, which are smaller than 14 points. And for larger text that is 18 points or more, or bold text 14 points or larger, a contrast ratio of 3:1 is sufficient. The same principle applies to images, especially ones that carries important information or meaning. If you look at the two pie charts on the slide, the one on the left relies only on colors to show the data, while the one on the right includes clear label, high contrast borders, and simple annotation to make it easy to understand at a glance. So this shows how thoughtful use of color and contrast can take a design from confusing to clear and accessible for everyone. Next slide, please. Okay, so let us dive into something that might sound a little technical, but it is actually really important for accessibility, and that is semantic structure. Think of semantic tags as invisible labels that quietly organizes your content and gives meaning. Without it, a page might look fine visually, but with assistive technology like screen readers, it cannot tell which is a title, what is a list, or what sections is it divided into. Let me give you an example. Imagine a TV guide with over 200 plus channels all on the same page, where you see categories for music, news, movies, sports, etc. But none of them are tagged correctly. So if you want to go straight to movies, you actually have to scroll through all the list top to bottom in order to select the movies section. And that is exactly what happens in a document if headings, lists, tables, links, etc. are not tagged semantically. So people using screen readers cannot jump to the sections they need. Instead, they have to scroll through the entire page, no matter how long it is. But when you tag things properly, everything changes. A heading 1 tells the reader this is the main title. Heading 2 marks each major sections. Lists are recognized item by item. Tables have headers so that the data is read correctly. And links, the descriptive links, actually tells user exactly where it goes. So it is very different from just bolding a line or making the font bigger, which only or I would say affects appearance, but does not give any meaning to assistive tools. And the good news here is most of the programs like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Canvas do the heavy lifting for you. If you use their built-in formatting styles, semantic tags are created automatically. You just have to use the correct style instead of manually adjusting fonts or bolding text. So in simple terms, semantic tags turn a visual layout into a meaningful layout. They actually guide the reader and make it much easier to navigate, whether someone is using a screen reader or just scanning quickly on their own. These invisible labels make a huge difference. Think back to that TV channel list which we were talking about. With the right tags, you can jump straight to the section that you want to without scrolling endlessly. And that is the power of semantic structure. It works behind the scene, but transforms accessibility and usability for everyone. Next slide, please. Headings are another important tags, like I've already given a brief about it. Headings are like a roadmap of your content. So think about it if you have to scroll through a 10-page syllabus with no headings at all, just a giant block or wall of text, no sections, no stopping point, no idea where anything is. It can make your brain really hurt, right? Now imagine that same syllabus broken into neat sections like course overview, objectives, assessments, schedules, and contact information. Suddenly, you know exactly where you are. You can jump straight to what you need, and it feels manageable, even friendly, I would say. So here's the thing. Headings are not about making text bigger or bold. They're about adding structure to your document. And here is the most important part. You should always use the built-in heading styles like heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, etc. from Word, PowerPoint, or Canvas instead of bolding or underlining the text, or even by just increasing the font size, because that just changes how it looks visually, but it does not tell assistive technology what that text actually is. So when you use the built-in heading styles, screen readers and other tools can recognize the hierarchy. Users can jump from section to section, and students can find exactly what they need without scrolling endlessly. Think of heading 1 as the main title, heading 2 as major section, heading 3 as subsections, and so on. It's also very important to keep the order logical and not to jump from heading 2 straight to heading 4. The system, or I would say assistive technologies, or people who use screen readers, they rely on that sequence to understand the chronological order of your document. So when applied correctly, your document has a built-in navigation system and it becomes easier to scan and accessible for everyone. So in short, using a proper heading style turns a flat wall of text into a well-organized, easy to navigate, and inclusive document for everyone. And honestly, once you start using these built-in heading styles, you would actually wonder how you ever did without them. Next slide, please. Let's talk about lists now, because they are one of the easiest way to make any information clear and quick to absorb. But again, here's the thing. They only work better if they are formatted properly. So always, again, use the built-in bullets and numbering in Word, PowerPoint, or Canvas. I know it can be tempting to just type your own dashes or asterisks. Definitely, it might feel quicker, right? But screen readers, as I mentioned earlier, do not recognize those as real list items. And that means important information can get lost for students who rely on assistive technology, and they might take even longer just to reach a particular bullet point. So numbered lists are great when you are showing a sequence of steps, and bulleted lists works best when you're sharing a group of related points. Now, here's the part that matters. Even when you use built-in list, try to keep it simple. That is, try not to go beyond one level of nested bullets, because too many layers can get confusing both visually and for screen reader users. Consistency is also the key. It makes a big difference if you change list styles all over your course materials. Students will have to pause and figure out what each symbol means. So keeping it consistent helps them instantly recognize instructions, steps, or key points. Let's look at, again, one of the example on the slide. On the left, you see a study guide or project outline with random symbols and uneven spaces. It looks messy and hard to navigate, wherein on the right, the same content uses proper bullets and numbering. It immediately feels organized, readable, and accessible for everyone. And the best part is using built-in list tools takes almost no extra effort, but it makes your content clearer and more accessible for everyone. Next slide, please. Here comes the links, one of the most common accessibility issues that we come across is in links. One of the most common issues that I see is vague link text. You know, the ones that says, click here, read more, this link, etc. On the surface, they might look fine, but they do not tell anyone where the link will actually take them. For someone using a screen reader, it can be really frustrating. Imagine your device reading out a whole page full of links, and every single one just says click here. It is like walking into a hallway with doors that all says open me. Would you even know which door leads to the library, which leads to the lab or the cafeteria? Probably not. And that is why link text needs to be descriptive and make sense on its own. For example, instead of saying click here, for assignment details, you could just say view assignment details. Click here. It is not important to add here because what is required in the descriptive text is just where it is leading to. Click here is just adding additional text there. Instead of register here, say register here for register for the faculty development workshop on artificial intelligence tools. So here, if you just say register here, a student would not know what program they're registering into if the list of links are open. So if you see how clear it is when we describe the link text clearly. Another important thing to remember is never use raw URLs as your link text. Links like https://example.com, etc. They are really, really lengthy and hard to read along, and they makes no sense to someone listening with a screen reader. And they can even be visually quite messy to understand. Also, avoid adding unnecessary text around the link, as we discussed earlier. Words like here or this page before or after the URL. And one of the major points, do not put links as a plain text that are not clickable. So make sure when you are adding links, it is tagged as a link and not as a plain text. So these small changes can make a big difference and let everyone quickly understand where the link goes and what action it will perform. Here is a simple trick to check your links. Hover your mouse over a link and ask yourself, if I only hear these words that I see on the screen on mouse hover, would I know what to expect when I click? If the answer is no, it is time for you to update the link description. On this slide, you can see the different poor examples like more info or click here that stands out right away and are very confusing, while strong examples like download the course syllabus are immediately clear and helpful. So clear descriptive links are not just about accessibility. They make your content feel more professional, easy to navigate, and I think usable for everyone. Next slide, please. Here comes tables. So tables can be really helpful if you want to organize data. But if they are not set up properly, they can quickly become confusing and frustrating for anyone who's trying to read them. So first, it is really important to remember that tables are for data only, not for controlling spacing or layout of your page. So using a table just to align text or images can make it unreadable for assistive technologies. Another common mistake is thinking bold text or larger font is enough to indicate table headers or column headers, which is definitely not true. So you should always use the built-in table tools to mark header rows and columns. This will ensure the screen reader users exactly which cells are headers so that your students using screen readers and other assistive technology can understand the structure and read the table correctly. Avoid merging cells or leaving blank spaces or columns. Those little adjustments can completely break the reading order and make the information really hard to follow. An accessible table has one clear heading row with descriptive labels like course, credits, instructors, no merged cells, and consistent alignment throughout. Even a table with 10 columns of survey data becomes manageable if you add a short description before it and if it is managed and tagged well. Something like the following table summarizes student responses to the spring survey. So if you provide such small or short introduction, it helps everyone know what to expect before diving into the detailed data. Make sure to keep your table a reasonable size, ideally 5 to 7 columns, and avoid nesting tables inside one another because most of the screen readers really struggle with nested structures. Also, if your table contains images, charts, or special formatting, make sure to provide descriptive alternative text or captions. When you design tables thoughtfully and tag them correctly, they actually stop being confusing blocks of data and become powerful tools that are easy to read, navigate, and understand for every student in your class. Next slide, please. Now that we've talked through key ideas, let us actually see what it looks like in action. So we are going to watch a quick demo that shows how headings, link, lists, tables, etc. behaves when a screen reader moves through them. As you watch, try to notice the difference between content that is the one which is properly tagged and structured, and the content that is not. You will hear how smooth and logical the experience can be when everything is set up correctly, and how quickly it can become confusing and disorienting when it is not. So let us jump in and take a look at the video. Can you please play the video?
New notification.
So let's look at a quick example of how screen readers actually work with these headings, links, lists, etc.
Demo-File Explorer to move to an item inaccessible version.
So we will go through the inaccessible version first, followed by the accessible version. You will be able to hear JAWS as well as also see the speech output on top of the screen. That is, whatever JAWS is reading out, you'll also be able to see it on the screen.
Enter. Opening dashboard. Opening dashboard. Resume reading. Resume reading button. Continue where you left. Restore maximum. Leave it. Blank. Elephant.
So we have this document where we have multiple headings and titles or lists, tables, etc. Now I will go through one by one and show how it behaves with screen reader if it is not rightly tagged. So first, let me start with the headings. So I want to check if there are headings and what are those.
Click keys on. No more headings found.
So it reads no more headings found. That is because of the headings not rightly tagged. Let's check with the list.
No lists found.
No list either. Let's check for the tables.
There are no tables in this document.
So it says there are no tables. Now let me check if there are any links available.
Bullet link https://www.myplate.gov/.
So there definitely seems to be one link available, but it is reading as the entire raw URL, so I would not know where this link is going to take me. So now because this document does not have the right tags like headings, lists, tables, etc. What I'll do is I'll move to the top of the page and start moving one by one to know what all it contains.
Top of file, health and fitness: building a balanced lifestyle. Blank. 1. Why health and fitness matter. Maintaining good health isn't just about looking blank. 2. Key elements of a healthy lifestyle. Bullet: regular physical activity and dash at least.
So here it looks like we have list, we have multiple headings, but visually it looks like one, but doesn't identify by the screen reader.
Bullet at blank. 3. Sample weekly fitness plan. Picture one image.
There looks like a table here visually, but because it is taken as a picture or inserted as a picture, you can see it as a table, but for me or for the screen reader user, it only identifies as an image and there is no alternative text. There is no accessible form provided either for this table.
Blank. Tip: adjust duration and intensity based on your fitness level.
So there is this tip provided which is highlighted for better visibility, but with the screen reader, it is again a normal text, so nothing um, highlighted rightly for a screen reader user.
Blank 4. If bullet 8 bullet blank 5. Bullet celebrate small blank. Remember health and fitness is a lot blank.
Same was with the remember point as well. And there were multiple bullet points which were as a list, but none of them were identified as a list. Now let's check the accessible version of the same document and how it makes a difference.
Demo-5. Accessible. Enter. Alert: backup vista. Edit. Heading. Up leave. Blank. Heading level 1. Restore. Maximize on leaving.
Okay, so I'll do the same thing. I'll try to jump between the headings to see what all headings are there.
Quick keys on. Heading level 2-1. Heading 1: health and fitness: building a balanced lifestyle.
So it reads as heading 1. That is the main title of the document.
Heading level 2-1. Why health and fitness matter.
Again, the hierarchy is rightly set up. It reads as heading 2. That is another heading in this document.
Heading 2. Heading level 2-2. Key elements of a healthy lifestyle.
Same, another sub point of the same heading.
Heading level 2-3. Sample weekly fitness plan.
So as you can see, I can jump between headings and it makes it very easy for keyboard only users or screen reader users to jump between different sections and have a quick check of what this document has. Let's check with the lists now.
Heading level 2-1. Why health and fitness matter.
So this is one of the first point, also a heading, but also the first points of the focus directly jumped there.
Maintaining good health isn't blank. Heading level 2-2. Key elements of a healthy lifestyle. Bullet: regular physical activity and dash at least 30 minutes a day. Entering list.
So if you noticed, it read entering list at the enter. That means the list starts here. Now, if the list ends here.
Bullet adequate sleep. Bullet hydration and dash drink plenty of water throughout the day. Bullet stress management and dash through breathing, mindfulness or hobbies. Blank exit list.
It also gives the information that the list exists here. Now I can quickly jump between the lists also.
Heading level 2-3. Heading level 2-4. Entering list. Link. Bullet world exit list out of field. Heading level.
So this is how if the document, if the headings, lists, etc. are rightly tagged, using a screen reader and keyboard, we can quickly jump on it. Now let's see the table.
Weekly fitness schedule, non-uniform, out of table, blank. Weekly fitness schedule, non-uniform table. This table shows a sample weekly fitness plan with days, activities, and duration. New cell, day.
So if you could hear it write and see it on the screen, it read the name of the table, weekly status, schedule, and also a description about what this table contains. So a screen reader user will know exactly what the data they are getting into. Now here, the table is identified by the screen reader. Now if I want to move row by row or column by column.
Monday, row 2 of 8. Activity. Brisk walking / jogging. Duration. 30 mins. Focus area. Cardio. End of row. Tuesday. Muscle and core strength. Duration. 30 mins.
So it is reading all the information right because the column headers are rightly marked here. The data are associated. So a keyboard user plus a screen reader user can easily identify all the data and can select, choose, search anything that they want to. Now let's check the links.
Quick keys off. Quick keys on. Entering list. Link. Bullet World Health Organization and dash physical activity guidelines.
So here we have a link. Also, it is rightly named, as you can see, and here
Head
it
link,
reads
Bullet
World Health Organization. So before clicking, I know what or where this link is going to take me.
Link. Bullet Choose My Plate and dash Healthy Eating Guide. Link. Bullet CDC and dash Benefits of Physical Activity.
Same goes for all the links. Here, one more thing I would like to show you in an inaccessible version of link is how it behaves when the links are presented just as a text.
Inaccessible edit. Blank. Blank. Bullet listen to your blank bullet H4. Use.
So we have multiple links here. If I move to the first one,
Bullet https://www.in/news-room/fact-sheets/details/physical-activity.
though it is a link, but it is not rightly tagged as a link, it is just reading as a text, first of all. So if any keyboard user, even for people who uses mouse, they need to copy the entire address. They cannot just click on it and open the web page. Second, it does not have a descriptive name. So definitely, not only screen reader users, even sighted people would not know where this link is leading to. Let's check the other link.
Bullet link https://www.myplate.gov/.
Here it is identified as a link. That is, it is tagged as a link. I can press enter or click with mouse and directly the web page opens. But again, it is reading the entire raw URL. So the name is not provided.
Bullet link read more.
Here it is tagged as a link. It also have a name, but the name is quite vague. It says read more. So again, no information where this link is leading to. So such issues definitely create a lot of hassle if the styles are not rightly tagged, especially for people using assistive technologies. Thank you.
Accessible version demo-file quick demo vertical.
Thank you, Nitish. I hope that gave some picture of how actually it works and why structure is not just about design, but true accessibility. So yeah, let's move on. Next slide, please. Before we wrap up today, let's take a moment to talk about how you can easily check your work for accessibility issues. So luckily, many tools you already use have built-in accessibility checkers that makes this process quick and simple. For example, in Word or PowerPoint, you can find this feature under the Review tab by selecting Check Accessibility. In Canvas, you can look for the small a inside a circle icon at the bottom right of the editor. That is your accessibility checker. If you use Google Docs, there is a free add-on called Grackle that you can install to scan your documents. And for websites and tools like Wave or Axe, browser extensions are super helpful. So these tools automatically highlights common problems like missing alternative text, incorrect heading orders, reading orders, low contrast, etc. So running a quick accessibility check before you post your syllabus or weekly updates will take only a minute, but it can actually save your students a lot of confusion and frustrations down the line. Next slide, please. Now that we have covered the key principles, let us bring it all together with a quick accessibility checklist for your course material. think of this as your go-to reminder whenever you create or update any content. To start with, check your headings. That is, use built-in heading styles instead of changing font size or bolding text, which will keep the structure consistent and readable by screen readers. When you use list, always use the built-in bullets or numbering tools so assistive technologies can identify them. For links, write descriptive text that explains where the link leads to and avoid phrases like click here or read more. In tables, use real table tools, add proper table headers, and avoid merging cells. Keep them simple and easy to follow. Also, take a moment to check color contrast and make sure there is enough difference between your text and background so that everything remains clear on different screens or projector. And finally, remember to keep your writing concise, your layout clean, and your tone approachable. So accessibility is not about perfection, it is actually about progress. So every small improvement can make your course more easier to follow and to navigate. Next slide, please. That brings us to the end of today's session. I hope you're leaving with a few practical ideas that you can start using right away in your materials. In our next session, we'll move into PDF documentation and how it works. Before we wrap up, I would love to hear from you. What would that one change you might like to try after today's session in your documents, content, or materials? Feel free to share in the Q&A section as chat is not enabled. Thank you all for your time and dedication. Let us now open the floor for your Q&A. Thank you.
And Surabhi, I'm going to ask you some of the questions. And so one of these is going to actually be for Nitesh. If we could do a few screenshots when we answer the questions, people would like to understand a little bit more how in Microsoft they're doing the tagging and the styles. So we want to show them the ribbon and where to click so they can get to headings, where to click on an image so they can get to alt text, those kinds of things. So we'll show that. This was an interesting question, Surabhi. Somebody said if they're making an alphabetical list, but they're going to skip some letters, can they do that automatically?
Can you do that automatically? As in, does it impact accessibility, you're saying?
Yeah. You're making
yeah,
a
I mean, okay. So first of all, if you are using alphabets, that again goes manual, but if you are using a built-in alphabetical order, that can go right. Skipping the alphabets for some reason, like if you have, make sure to add a note there for people who are using assistive technologies so that they don't end up searching for the missing alphabet point. So you can always add a note to let them know that.
Okay. This question, if for those of us who use emojis, especially in our Canvas courses to help with students, are emojis an image? Do we just alt tag emojis?
I think it's a good idea to do that because it adds up that that emotion. Like emojis are basically to add that expressions or it adds up that feel, right? So it's always a good idea to add an alternative text to that. It really adds up that charm.
Thank you. Okay. If somebody is not using a mouse, they're just using the tab key, how do they actually access the links? So see if I answered properly. I said, if it's all tagged properly, they would use the tab key to get to the link. And once they got to the link using the tab key, then they would hit enter.
Correct. So, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. If we're not merging cells,
Just a second, Sherry.
oh.
Sorry to interrupt. I would like to add there one more thing with the links. So you rightly pointed it out, like, so all these interactive UIs where we call it, which are clickable, actionable, right? So they are supposed to be included in the tab order that we say. So whenever we are pressing tab key, they should be reachable via tab key. And as Sherry mentioned, if we press enter or space bar, it gets activated. Mostly it's enter. That is with the keyboard users. And with the screen reader users, you must have seen in the video, like there are shortcut keys to jump between these UI elements, whether it's headings, lists, links, buttons, tables, etc. So that is how they navigate using that shortcut key, which directly jumps from one UI to another. And
Thank
same
you.
with enter key, they can activate it. Yeah, please
Okay.
go ahead.
If we're not supposed to merge cells,
Mm-hmm.
but we have a heading that's really meant, it's not just the table heading. We have a heading that's really meant for 2 columns. What do we do if we can't merge cells? How do we do that?
So that's a good question. I would say, so suppose you want, there's one single column for column A and column B.
Correct.
There's a one single header. And you cannot merge cell. The only option I would think of is either you provide a separate columns for both, or you just, yeah, I think that is the only option, because merge cells, what happens is when we navigate with keyboard, it jumps in a very illogical order,
Okay.
which creates a lot of confusion while navigating into a table.
So
Um,
let's say I had columns A and B were fall 2025 and column C and D was spring 2026. So
Mhm.
can I just say fall 2025, fall 2025, spring
No,
2026,
no.
spring 2026?
That can create much more confusion. So there
Oh.
must be some difference between column A and column B data, right? So at least you can
Yes.
add a number like A or B. Some minor difference would be there. So there's no harm in using fall 2025, but make sure to add some
Oh.
context there which differentiates between column A and column B.
So I
So
might
that
say
completely works.
fall 2025 math, fall 2025 English.
Correct. Yes.
And in doing that, and then visually, I see, oh, these two are fall 2025, but these scores are for math and these scores are for English. And then the
Right.
same thing. Okay, thank you. And then
Right.
Nitesh, this is one for you and me, which is next time, can we please make the screen a little bit larger, which is in a course on accessibility, we should have been paying more attention. I just thanked them, but we will be sharing the slide deck. Color blindness. So are there colors that we should absolutely be avoiding?
I would not say there are colors like now there are multiple related questions to it. If you are conveying any information through colors, then yes, that needs to be avoided or an alternative has to be provided. And when we say avoiding, I would not say avoid, but there has to be a proper contrast. So it comes with a lot of bullet points here. So first, the color should not be only means of information. Second, whatever color you're using, make sure that there is enough contrast so that between the background and the foreground. And for people with especially color blindness, there are different multiple factors, like the people could be red, green, blue colorblind, or people could just see one or two colors. So you can completely use colors unless it is not giving the information through only colors. There's no
Okay,
harm in
thank
that.
you. The rest of the questions and answers that we didn't get to now, we will answer over the weekend and we will share them back out. A very special thank you to our magician behind the screen, Nitesh, thank you. And to Surbi, as always, thank you for your insights. As a screen reader user, you're really giving us more than just type this and type that, but really helping us to understand why the demonstration of the JAWS screen reader and explaining what we were seeing was really helpful. So I thank you for all the work that went into putting this together. For everybody else, thank you for your lunchtime, and we will see you next week when we talk about creating accessible PDFs and tagging them. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.